Good morning, welcome to another live feed on my Rashad YouTube channel. Let's get into the Word of God. Show me something now called Waiving Our Rights. Matthew chapter 5, verse 38 and 39. Let's get into it. You have heard it that it was said, eye for an eye, tooth for tooth. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. Someone strikes you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. Let's get down to this chapter we just talked about. Now, basically, what he was talking about in this section, that is not teaching that we don't need policemen or that policeman who is a Christian should not defend himself. Neither is he saying that we are not to defend ourselves against a violent attack. When a woman is raped, someone breaks into your home, there have been those who have fight it this way, that way, just as there have been some people who cut off their hands to avoid going to hell. Jesus refers to the law about we need to see it in its context. The passage eye for an eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. First, a pregnant woman who gets accidentally hit, mentioned in Exodus chapter 21, verse 22 to 24. It's the lowest way of dealing with accidental injury. Issue is this: a compensation should be paid when one person has injured another. The ruling was intended to control and limit revenge. The intent was not that the injured party was commanded to get compensation, but shows how far they could go if they wanted it. The main point was that a person could go no further from the law said. In other words, no more than the value of an eye should be taken for an injury to the eye. For example, the offending party should not be killed in revenge, but only receive the true value of the injury. Therefore, such a penalty could be turned into a financial payout. Payment. There's evidence that a literal mutilation was an acceptable punishment in the Old Testament times. Only in willful murder was it life for life. Former life for life did not apply in the case of as them killing, so it was applied only in the case of murder. The law allowed revenge and when the payment of a fine. Again, the purpose was to limit the revenge. The law made sure no composition was excessive. With the connotation for fracture, I filed 2 for 2, Leviticus chapter 24, verse 20. The context have dealt with any need for restitution. This dealt not only with the murder, but also with killing another person's animals. It shows the just rights of one who has been abused. The injured party could justifiably demand. This again showed the limits so the person acts seeking payment does not go too far in their demands. So for the this phrase appears also in Deuteronomy chapter 19, verse 21. Show no pity, life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. Concept was when there is a malicious witness. Moses had ordered that a matter must be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. But if one swore falsely, or if it was the result of a personal vendetta or someone to agree to swear falsely, God stepped in to ensure this was punished. So if the lie was uncovered, you now had a just right to appeal. One could do to the malicious witness the very thing he intended to do to you. If he was hoping to give you accused of murder, but you are innocent, you can now accuse him of murder. The sentence will be carried out. So the rest of the people will hear of this and be afraid, and never again will such a good evil thing be done among you. So Deuteronomy chapter 19, verse 19 to 20. But such were one's rights under Moses, and we need to remember that these rules were under the civil code. The 10 Commandments was the moral code, whereas 3 verses above code for the civil law. It says under damage to the person or to the property. So all these verses were instructions to the judges of Israel. They express what is lex teleosis, law of retribution or deserved punishment, principle exact retribution, even for an eye, tooth for a tooth, had a double effect, so it defined justice and restrained revenge. Heard the taking of the law into one's own hands, going too far. And killing a person because he broke your tooth. Now, apparent contradictions. There are 2 apparent contradictions. The first is between Jesus and Moses. The second between Jesus' other writers in the New Testament, James, Peter. So is Jesus contradicting the law? Not one of these contradictions is to be precisely found in the Mosaic law. They go far way beyond the law, even change the Mosaic law. Like sure. Because if you do nothing, God will step in. He will get revenge better than you could have. If you want to be nice to your enemy, then take revenge into your own hands. You mess up every time. There's an apparent contradiction between Jesus, James, and Peter. Jesus says for us not to resist an evil person, but James says resist the devil, he will flee from you. Peter says regarding the devil who prowls around like a roaring lion, resist him, stand firm in the faith. Therefore, why resist the devil but not an evil person? Do note that Jesus does not deny that person out there is to injure you, that he or she will be malicious and lie about you, will be unfair and take advantage of you. The devil is evil. The person out there may be evil, and yet we resist the devil but don't oppose the evil person. Why? First, the devil is supernatural. He does not qualify to have a relationship with people. Second, we are not required to get along with the devil, as if we should try to win him over. The devil is forever unwinnable. The devil hates with an unchangeable, icy cold hatred. God will deal with Satan at the end of the day. The next time the devil reminds you of your past, remind of his future. In the meantime, we are to resist him. It's a promise you are to rely on and can rely on, and he will flee from you. Why then are we told not to resist an individual who is evil and wants to harm us? The fact is, whereas we cannot compromise with Satan, we can sometimes win over the evil person. So when we do win him over, he will look back on the time that when he was so cruel, he was so gentle, and he will say to us, "You were great in those days." Well done. Always treat enemies in such a manner that you should win them over. They will salute you and applaud your Christ-like behavior in those sense of moments. But when they come to you, speak that way, it will be like hearing sweet music. You should never enter into a lifestyle towards forgiveness, expecting to make the work. Forget that. Lose your life doing what's absolutely right. We must not love our enemies only because we think we might win them over. Whereas we cannot give into sin or Satan, we can give into an evil person whom God is allowed to test us. Selection comes to God alone. Resist the devil and he will flee. Do not oppose evil people. Leave them with God. Leave them with God. Let them God deal with them. He may change them. Showing contempt for the devil is healthy. Showing contempt for others does not harm them, only yourself. So hate is always counterproductive. Hate always grieves the Holy Spirit. Let them hate you. That is out of your hands. Jesus will now allow us to hate them. Perfect 10 is if someone strikes you on the cheek, turn to him. Also, like the ancient civil code, that can be done to us is either carried out non-verbally or verbally. It's the verbal use that Jesus has in mind when he says to turn the cheek. Non-verbal use means physical violence. If you are literally slapped on the face, immediate reaction is to defend ourselves by striking back, or at least saying something. Jesus tells us to say nothing that is revengeful. The only person to fulfill this totally was Jesus himself. This also means Paul was destined perfect before the high priest. High priest often ordered someone to strike Paul on the mouth. As Paul retorted, God will strike you. You whitewash wall. You sit there to judge me according to the law. Yet you yourself violate the law by commanding that I be struck. You stand there and everybody said that to insult God's high priest. Paul climbed down. I did not realize that he was the high priest. It was not Paul's finest hour. Jesus, however, is not telling us not to protect ourselves against physical violence. A person being raped should defend herself. A policeman needs to defend himself. Someone hex you, you should defend yourself. If Jesus tells you to turn the cheek, it means we should not return the attack verbally. It refers to someone lying about you, attacking your integrity. You are falsely accused when you are made to look bad or stupid. When it is a sheer personal attack, Jesus is saying, waive your rights. Yes, under the law, you have the right to fight back. You are protected by the civil law. You can make another person pay. If someone falsely accuses you, falsely testifies, you can seek proof of his dishonesty. You can throw the book at him. Jesus, however, won't let us do that. So he's saying, don't even try to show they are false witnesses. Don't raise a finger to defend yourself and make yourself look good. So, there's a difference between the Old Testament and our era that have been instructed by our Redeemer. Many times they were protected by the law. Jesus says, I'll tell you, means we are protected by love. In what ways do we waive our rights? The first in revenge or retaliation. We are not allowed to pay back for verbal injury. We are not given permission to punish this person in return for what we may have suffered. Second, when our reputation is attacked, we are not allowed to protect our name. We are not given the right to vindicate ourselves. We are not given permission to counter attack in order to protect our self-esteem. Don't bribe God doing what he loves to do so much, or what he does best, which is to vindicate you. He will do it in a manner you will have never dreamed. Third, retribution. Giving them a deserved punishment when you believe they have it coming. You could throw the book at them. You do nothing instead. You turn the other cheek. Resistance. You could stop a line of verbal abuse or gossip from being successful to make you look good. What do? You don't stop your opposing, let it carry on. Repudiation. That means when you refuse to make your opponent or enemy look bad for repudiating them by putting them down or calling them names such as liar. Next, reproach. You willingly bear the shame for what you believe, like Peter and John, who rejoiced that they were counted worthy to suffer the shame of his name. Seventh, rebuttal. When you refute or disprove evidence used to accuse you falsely, leave things alone. Eighth, retorting. Quick, angry, replying in kind. Like it or not, this is what Jesus is teaching. Why does he do this? Because he wants us to inherit the kingdom of heaven. Burn with the ungrieved spirit. Defend yourself, and the spirit is grieved. Refuse to defend yourself, and the Holy Spirit is not grieved. So when you snap back, however natural it feels to do so, you give you the Holy Spirit. There's no fear in love. Perfect love casts out all fear. Fear has to do with punishment. Eye for an eye, tooth for tooth has to do with punishment. I want my rights, we might well say. I want the punch, we might honestly feel. When I punish, it's because I am afraid. I'm afraid that God won't deal with them, that the world will listen to them and lead them and hurt my reputation. It's fear that lies behind my need to punish those who hurt me. When I retaliate, it's because I'm afraid. When I want retribution, it's because I'm afraid these people get away with the way they will be. But when I avoid reproach, I am afraid that my reputation will be damaged. We are called to be like Jesus, and that is happening between our justification, glorification. There's a process called sanctification. We're in the process of being more and more like Jesus. Jesus set a high standard, a very high standard indeed. That's what he preached. And the degree to which we practice what he preached, practice will be the degree to which we inherit the blessing he has promised us. It ain't easy. Nobody said it would be easy. The funny thing is, most commentaries watered down so much of what Jesus said, often spend time saying what this does not mean, what that could not mean. Granted, there will be times when we may be forced to say it can't possibly mean this or that. In this section, the greatest mistake we can make is to dilute and weaken the extraordinary teachings of Jesus Christ, so that we end up never having to apply them to ourselves. Feel guilty in the slightest. Let's going to be in chapter 30 tomorrow. Time to get in. Reading from Matthew chapter 5. Verse 39 to 42, if someone strikes you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. And if someone wants to sue you and take your tunic, let him have your cloak as well. If someone forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2 miles. Give to the one who asks you, and do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you. Chapter 30. All right, so let's get into Ultimate NBA History Book, What If Book, Volume 2, The Orleans Pelicans. This franchise has had 2 of the greatest players in NBA history on this franchise, like Anthony Davis and Chris Paul. But Anthony Davis was traded to the Lakers. Then they got Zion Williamson, who was highly touted since Davis came into the league in 2012. Let's get into this, man. The Hornets pack up, moved to New Orleans. In the Charlotte Hornets chapter, there was over terror match between former Charlotte Hornets George Shinn and the city of Charlotte. The Hornets filed for relocation in March of 2001. Hornets were extremely popular and relatively successful in their NBA infancy in Charlotte in the 1990s, but things had gone south with the fan base by the turn of the century. Shin was accused of rape in 1997, greatly hampered his reputation and resulted in a steep decline in local support. So, make a long story short, they moved to New Orleans from Charlotte. It wasn't the first time that New Orleans had an NBA team. It used to be the New Orleans Jazz before they migrated to Utah in 1979. So inherited a solid young roster led by Baron Davis, Jamal Mashburn, that was coming off an Eastern Conference semifinals appearance in 2002 NBA playoffs. So the New Orleans Hornets was reborn in the Bayou on October 30th, 2002. They went up against Utah as they romped the Jazz 100-75 behind Baron Davis's 21 point, 10 assists, 5 rebounds. Um, Again, this New Orleans always had a team in the NBA, but it wasn't the Hornets. It was always New Orleans Jazz in the 1970s. That's what it was about at the time. Pete Maravich, as he played for the Jazz in New Orleans when they was in New Orleans at the time. So New Orleans has a history of having NBA teams. It's just that it wasn't the Hornets at the time. It was the New Orleans Jazz. So the Hornets entered their first season in New Orleans with a core of Davis, Mashburn, David Wesley, P.J. Brown, Jamal McGlure, Courtney Alexander, George Lynch. They got off to a great start to the 2002-2003 season at 11-4 before struggling mildly from mid-December to mid-January, falling back to 2020. New Orleans went 19-8 over their last 27 games to finish the season at 47-35. So Jamal Mashburn led the team in scoring with 21.6 points to go, along with 6.1 rebounds, 5.6 assists. Made the only NBA All-Star, All NBA appearance of his NBA career. Davis averaged 17.1 points, 6.4 assists, 3.7 assists, 3.7 rebounds, 1.8 steals. So they're the fifth seed facing the Philadelphia 76ers in 2003 NBA playoffs. Iverson, the 76ers, had 55 points in game one, and the 76ers won 98-90. Then he lost game two to Hornets. Then they went back to New Orleans. It was the first NBA playoff ever hosted by the city of New Orleans. It was in game three of the Hornets 76ers on April 26, 2003. And Hornets won this game 99-85. Baron Davis had 28 points, 8 assists, but they fell short in game four and lost in 4 games. Excuse me, beg your pardon, sorry about that. They lost in 6 games, 107 to 103. They were eliminated in 7 games in the first round. Then they drafted in 2003 draft David West. And then they had veteran Darrell Armstrong, Steve Smith into the 2003-2004 NBA season. Mashburn retired after unsuccessful Michael fracture surgery at age 32. So they still had Davis. They still had him, Jamal McGlure. They were number 5 seed. They faced the Miami Heat. They lost in 7 games, 85-77 for NBA playoffs. Then they go to the draft. You got J.R. Smith who got drafted 2004. Yeah, J.R. Smith was drafted. So you had they had built it up, built this team. They traded away Mashburn, Davis, Armstrong, Wesley, ended up with Glenn Robinson, Dale Davis, Speedy Claxton. They would end up waiving Robinson and Davis. They struck bad luck in 2005 in the NBA draft lottery, falling back two spots from the projected number 2 pick to the number 4 pick. So they ended up taking Chris Paul. Then it's trying to talk about Hurricane Katrina, the damage that was done in New Orleans, and stuff like that. But Chris Paul became an instant, sensation with the team. He became the best player, faced the franchise from day one. He was the rookie of the year in 2005, 2006, averaging 16.1 points, 7.8 assists, 5.1 rebounds, 2.2 steals. David West broke out in his third season, averaging 17.1 points, 7.4 rebounds. So he was doing his thing. So he drafted Hilton Armstrong, Cedric Simmons in 2006 NBA draft, but they were both busts. They scored a combined 1,043 points and 367 appearances in their brief NBA careers. It was a pretty bad draft class. The transforming players who were taken in the first round, the Hornets were 2-point guards like Kyle Lowry and Ray John Rondo. They did have effective offseason, acquiring Pedro Stojakovic in a trade with the Indiana Pacers for Andrew Becks. They acquired Tyson Chandler from the Bulls, a trade for P.J. Brown and J.R. Smith. And they signed veteran rotational guard Bobby Jackson. He went 39 and 43. Okay, they didn't make it to the playoffs. Right. Chris Paul comes to NBA's best point guard, and the Hornets return home. 2007-2008 season, they had their best year in the 18-year NBA history. The core of Chris Paul, David West, Chad Chandler, Pedro Stojakovic, and Mo Peterson. They became a 6-win team. They were number 2 seed in the Western Conference, one behind the Lakers, and they also won the Southwestern Division. David West was a first-time All-Star, averaging 20.6 points a game, 8.9 point rebounds per game. Tyson Chandler averaged double-double with 11.8 points, 11.7 rebounds, and Pedro got his groove back, 16.4 points and 4.3 rebounds per game, 44.1% shooting from 3-point range. And Chris Paul became that, the best point guard. Rightfully so. He averaged 21.1 points a game, 11.6 assists, leading the league in assists, 4 rebounds, and 2.7 steals per game that led the league. He finished second to Kobe Bryant in MVP voting. Could have won MVP that year. They beat the Dallas Mavericks in the first round. They faced the Spurs in the second round. They lost in 7 games at home to the Spurs. (49-33) on the 2008-2009 season. Pedro Stojakovic and Tyson Chandler missed combined 57 games. So he took a step backwards. But Paul continued to get better as a player, averaging 22.8 points a game, 11 assists, 2.8 steals a game, 5.5 rebounds. So he still enhances his portfolio, elevating his game. They went to the playoffs as a 7th seed, but they lost in the first round to Denver Nuggets. Then you had the Hornets struggle after that. Tyson Chandler gets traded to the Bobcats for Mecca Okafor, and they relocate. End up with the original Charlotte team. Excuse me. Talking about Okafor. And what was essentially the organization will regret as far as the Hornets trading challenge to the Bobcats. For Mecca Okafor, first draft pick for the expansion in Charlotte Hornets in 2004, he ended up on the original Charlotte team. And what was a decision that the organization will regret? Paul was injury prone during that 2009-2010 season. They finished 37-45. They missed the postseason. Paul missed 37 games with ankle issues, sprained finger and ligament, and knee surgery. You had the Chris Paul trade veto. Paul wanted out of New Orleans. Then came the trade that was vetoed by David Stern, the new NBA commissioner at the time. December 8th, 2011, the Hornets and general manager Dell Demps agreed to send Chris Paul to the Lakers in a three-team deal that would have landed the Hornets Goran Dragic, Kevin Martin, Louis Scola, Lamar Odom, and 2012 first-round pick became Royce Wright. The Rockets Paul Gasol and the Lakers Chris Paul, but NBA Commissioner David Stern at the time vetoed the trade 45 minutes later for what he called basketball reasons. Probably at the behest of some NBA owners who thought it was too good for the Lakers, including Dan Gilbert, the Kevin Cavaliers owner at the time. So these trades to the Clippers, Chris Paul. All right, so it hit the lottery. It was 21-45. So here comes the brow known as the Pelicans were born. That's Anthony Davis. He was drafted coming out of Kentucky. Won the national championship. Freshman of the year, stuff like that. He averaged 14.7 points, 10.4 rebounds, 4.7 blocks. He was known as a unibrow. Brow because it's unibrow. All right, so let's get into it. They finished 27-55. Davis' rookie season. Behind Gordon. Fourth leading scorer behind Gordon, Ryan Anderson, and Vasquez. And 34-48 on 2012-2013 season. 2013-2014 season, I believe. I think that's the case. Is that the case? Yes. Yes, it was. In 2014-2015, you had Anthony Davis. Third season became like an MVP candidate. 24.4 points a game, 10.10 rebounds a game, leading 2.9 blocks per game. Did his thing. They went 45-37. Number 8 seed. They lost to got swept by the Warriors. Despite 31.5 points was averaged by AD, 11 rebounds, 3 blocks. So you had that going on. I think that's basically it. Then you had DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis playing together. You had 2 gifted big men in the lineup. But they finished 34-48 despite the dynamic duo of these 2 guys. They finished 11-14 down the stretch, the final 25 games, 11-14. Davis averaged 28 points a game, 11.8 rebounds, 2.2 blocks. Cousins averaged 24.4 points, 12.4 rebounds, 3.9 assists, and 17 appearances with the Pelicans. So they was able to handle their business, but they were not good enough to make it to the playoffs. So they put up big numbers the following season during 2017-2018 season. And they was able to do their thing, but they was fall short. Pelicans swept. They were swept shockingly by the Portland Trailblazers. Um, 2018. So Dave was once out. He's gonna get what he wanted. Eventually, going to the Lakers. July 16, 2018. Went to the Lakers. Three-team deal. Landed Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart. Number 4 pick of the next 2009 NBA draft, DeAndre Hunter. First round pick in 2021, 23, and 24. So they ended up getting Zion Williamson. He became the face of the franchise. Year he averaged 22.5 points, 6.3 rebounds, 58.3% shooting from the field. Let's move on. So we'll see what's the what if with the New Orleans Pelicans. What if Anthony Davis and Zion Williamson were teammates in New Orleans? One would assume that they could still have signed J.J. Redick and maybe add a guy like Marcus Morris to have a strong lineup of Holiday, Redick, Morris, Zion, Davis. It's a pretty dangerous team, like a top 6 team in the West Conference at a minimum. With Zion sitting out a large portion of the year, that year though, they will rally with him back to be number 7 seed in the Western Conference that season. No, whatever season, but 2020, 2021. Looks like I could be wrong about that, but anyway, 2021, 2022 Pelicans became the class of the Western Conference. Davis wins NBA MVP, while Zion is first team All NBA, and they have the best record, 62-20. They beat the Lakers, the Suns, and beat the Mavericks to get to the NBA Finals against the Milwaukee Bucks. Chris Paul has the series of his life at the age of 37, wins NBA Finals MVP. As the Pelicans beat the Bucks, back-to-back NBA champions, to win the NBA championship in 2022. It's a what-if situation. They let Drew Holiday walk, bringing back Chris Paul, and signed Tim Hardaway Jr. to start with him in the backcourt. So that's basically it. What if? All right, so I'm done with that. Next will be the New York Knicks. I'll talk about that, their franchise, their history, and the what if with them tomorrow. So that's it for today. Live feed. Be back tomorrow. We get into the what if the Knicks. What if the Knicks never traded their first round pick, the Nuggets first round pick, in the 1987 NBA draft? We talk about that along their history. But the what if is the main thing that makes this book interesting. Is that it talks about the what if with all the franchise so far, and with the Knicks, what I'll be reading about tomorrow, is what if the Knicks never traded their first round pick, and the Nuggets first round pick in the 1987 NBA draft. We're going to get into that tomorrow. So that's it for today. Be back tomorrow. Until then, support, share the channel if you want, like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button if you like the content. Subscribe if you like the channel and the content. Best yet to come with this channel. Till then, talk to you tomorrow.